Welcome to this presentation on the US-China tariff war. Today, we'll explore how this ongoing trade conflict has evolved, where it might be heading, and what it means for the global economy. The tariff war began in 2018 when the US imposed duties on Chinese imports, citing intellectual property theft and an unsustainable trade imbalance. China responded with its own tariffs, and over time, both nations targeted hundreds of billions in goods. What started as a trade dispute quickly escalated into a broader economic standoff. For decades, the global tariff system, largely shaped by institutions like the World Trade Organization, has been aligned with US and European interests. Many developing countries, including China, have argued that these rules are outdated and structurally biased. This tension is a key backdrop to today's trade disputes. China takes a very different approach to intellectual property. While formal IP protections exist, enforcement remains selective. At the same time, the government aggressively subsidizes key industries such as electric vehicles and semiconductors. These practices are seen by the US as giving China an unfair advantage in global markets. One key advantage for China is its political structure. Unlike democracies where public opinion can quickly shift policy, China's centralized system allows it to absorb economic pain over a longer period. This resilience gives Beijing the confidence to dig in during prolonged trade disputes. In April 2025, the US announced a surprising exemption. Smartphones, computers, and other consumer electronics were removed from the tariff list. This move aims to shield American consumers from inflation and protect the interests of major tech companies like Apple, Nvidia, and Dell. So far, the tariff war has had mixed effects. While some manufacturing has shifted to countries like Vietnam and Mexico, American companies are still facing higher input costs. Consumers, too, have seen price fluctuations in certain goods. The uncertainty has disrupted supply chains and raised questions about long-term trade strategy. Looking ahead, we see three broad scenarios. First, escalation. More tariffs, possibly extending to critical technologies. Second, a stalemate. Tariffs remain, but without major changes. And third, de-escalation, where negotiations lead to selective tariff reductions. The eventual path will depend on both economic realities and political will. In the US, there's bipartisan consensus on being tough on China, though tactics may vary by administration. In China, the priority is maintaining political control and boosting self-reliance. Tariffs are no longer just about trade. They've become a proxy for deeper national security concerns. The impact isn't limited to the US and China. Countries like Mexico, India, and Vietnam have become alternative manufacturing hubs. Meanwhile, Europe is caught in the middle, trying to maintain economic ties with both powers. We're also seeing the rise of friends-whoring, the realignment of supply chains around political alliances. A separate but related battle is unfolding in the tech sector. Export bans, investment restrictions, and security reviews are all part of what's being called a tech Cold War. China is investing heavily to reduce its dependence on US tech, and the US is doing the same with Chinese hardware and platforms. Companies are responding by diversifying supply chains. This is often referred to as the China Plus One strategy. They're also building flexibility into pricing models and monitoring geopolitical risks more closely. Strategic agility is now a core requirement for global businesses. The tariff war is more than a trade dispute. It reflects a broader ideological and strategic divide between two global superpowers. The outcome will shape the future of trade, innovation, and diplomacy. For businesses and policymakers alike, navigating this future will require adaptability, insight, and long-term vision.